expert from Mobility Engineering, back again for another Q&A. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much for sending in those questions. And as I always say, hit my trusty subscribe button. Well, hit the subscribe button down there that looks like my trusty subscribe pillar, should I say, and help us get to that 1,000 subscribers. We'd love your support around that. So hit that subscribe button, and more content will keep coming. So today's question, let's get on to it. Today's question is about this wonderful device, the Brawnability Turny Evo or Turny system. So the Turny system, as you can see, it's a swivel seat system that has come, basically was in the passenger position there, and basically starts shimmying to its side and moving in multiple sort of angles and directions, and basically comes down and drops down and allows for the transfer in and out of the vehicle. You can connect to a Turny wheelchair base, and we've got multiple videos about this particular system. So the question today about this system is, someone has written in and said, if I get a system like this, and let's say I'm out in the field, and I'm using it, and I'm transporting somebody in and out, what happens if I'm out, I've got the seat out here, like this. What happens if I'm out here, and either my battery dies in my car, or the unit goes faulty? It's got lots of little electric motors and sensors, so there is a potential that these things could go faulty and get stuck. So is there an emergency override? Because what would be not that pleasant would be to have this sticking outside of your vehicle, and then you needing to go somewhere, or if it's really bad weather or something like that, and it's just stuck there. That would probably be one of the worst things that could happen to you. Luckily, there actually is multiple overdrives, overrides, if you'd like, and systems. And I've got, just to make it easy, we've got a demo bench with the Turny mounted on it, but this is just the base part. So you've got to use your imagination. Normally there would be a seat and rails and all that kind of stuff, but so you can see everything and see how it all works, and I guess get access to it all, we've got the seat off there. And this is another seat that's covered with our COVID-safe covering. Okay, so for every function, there is a motor or a sensor, and there is a release for that function as well. So the first function is the swiveling function. So to show you the other functions, I'm going to move it electronically, but to show you that there is a release of the swivel, I'm going to release that now. So you've got a little release lever down the bottom, somewhere there, where you just pull on the lever, and you just pull it out like so. And then that allows you to basically swivel. So if I was out, I would pull that lever out, and then that allows me to swivel that back in, and then I can sort of lock it in place like that. And then that will allow me, I might actually have to pull it out and bring it back in a little bit more, like that, and then I can lock it in place like so. So that's basically your emergency override for the swivel. Now for the programming, moving it backwards and forwards and other overrides, there is, and I'm going to show you them all as we go along. So if I was to turn this around, and if I had this all the way out and down, I'll show you the different release mechanisms that we've got for this system that allows it to move in and out and so on. So we'll just get the system out, and again, using your imagination, you would imagine that you'd have your chair on top of this. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll run through all of the different release mechanisms to show you that in any way, shape or form, if you have a failure, you can get yourself into the car and you can go. So the first release mechanism is the one that sort of pulls it up. And this one, from a, I guess, manual handling point of view, would probably, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be the more difficult part, because once you release that, which is this little tab here, I pull that up, then what you do is you would actually lift this up and pull it back into place. But the problem is you've got an occupant, and you've got a chair, and you've got this big metal frame. So if you're in that position, you might need someone to come and help you to actually lift it up and get into the vehicle, because it is quite heavy and it can be quite challenging. So that's the release mechanism for that element. Then what you'll see is you've got these two little, this release mechanism actually moves the thing backwards and forwards, that's this little guide here. Then you've got other guides or other mechanisms that move it in and out. So for those mechanisms, what there is there is a tool and there is a crank that actually fits into it. So that sits into the back of this. So that will sit into that hole there, and you would crank it, and same with that one there, which would be fitting one of these fittings like that. And then effectively you come with these tools and you can crank them backwards and forwards depending on where you need to do. So that would bring it in. And I'm not going to lie, it's not super fast. It's not something that is going to happen all the time. It doesn't really happen. So it's just something that is an emergency backup that you can crank yourself. It might take you 15 minutes to sort of crank it all the way back in, but at least you can get on the road and be safe and continue to be mobile. So there's that cranking there. So that will basically allow it to come all the way in and swivel back in. And then the last one, swivel sort of bring it up, and then the swivel mechanism I showed you is that release one, and then this thing moves backwards and forwards, and then there is also a little motor that moves it backwards and forwards, and again the crank goes into the motor like so. That's the other side of the crank. Go in, turns around, and similar to the other one, I put my ratchet on there and I just ratchet it and it moves it back into position. So basically, is there an emergency override and manual override for this electronic swivel seat system if I get stuck? The answer is yes. Multiple overrides depending on what kind of failure you might have. So multiple fail safes. So yeah, wonderful product even in an emergency. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Keep your questions coming in, and we'll see you next time.